So you might have noticed that your Samsung smartphone has two video recording modes. The normal video mode, which pretty much everyone uses, and then you've got something called the Pro Video. And unlike the normal video mode, the Pro Video gives you full manual control over all of the cameras. And if you know what each of these settings actually do, then you'll be able to get a higher quality video compared to the normal video mode in certain circumstances. And not to mention, the manual control over the camera is going to be super beneficial while trying to capture aesthetic videos. So let's begin, and hopefully by the end of this tutorial, you'll be able to capture higher quality videos using the Pro Video. Alright, so Samsung phones have two manual modes, Pro Video for videos and Pro for photos. The functionality is pretty much identical. Both of them let you have full manual control over the camera. In this tutorial, we're going to focus on the video aspect, so we're going to select Pro Video, which is the manual mode for video recording. And this mode is going to give you full manual control over the camera's ISO level, shutter speed, exposure value, focus system, white balance, and you can also choose how the microphone captures audio. And yes, you can also use the Pro Video for the front-facing camera. So let's start the video from the camera's ISO level, which is the first setting that you will see when you are in the Pro Video. So in simple words, ISO shows you the sensitivity of the camera sensor to light in a numerical value. A higher number means high sensitivity to light. This means the camera will be able to capture brighter videos in the dark at higher ISO levels. However, one downside of cranking up the ISO is that the videos kind of tend to look fuzzy, and this fuzziness is known as noise, which is normal at high ISO levels. Although I'm kind of impressed by the performance of the S24 Ultra's primary camera, because even at ISO 3200, the noise levels are pretty low. So in simple words, cranking the ISO up will give you brighter videos in low light, and cranking the ISO down will decrease the amount of light in your videos. Now usually you will not have to go beyond ISO 1600 for most low light situations if you use the ISO with the appropriate shutter speed. And that brings us to our second setting, that is the shutter speed. Now look, a video is like a bunch of frames being put together which will be played back at 60, 30 or 24 frames a second, whichever frame rate you select on your phone from this menu. Now, your phone has an electronic shutter which opens and closes to capture light onto those frames. And the shutter speed is gonna tell you for how long that electronic shutter remains open to capture light. And the shutter speed is shown in seconds. So 1 by 1/80th shutter speed means that you are giving the phone 1 by 1/80th of a second to capture those 30 frames. Now watch what happens when I lower the shutter speed down to 1 by 1/25th and down to 1 by 90. Now we're giving the phone 1 by 90th of a second to capture those 30 frames. So each frame is gonna spend more time being exposed to light. This is why you'll get brighter videos at lower shutter speeds and darker videos at higher shutter speeds, because the shutter is gonna open and close faster at, well, higher shutter speeds. And you want to use a combination of appropriate shutter speed and the ISO to get that right exposure. That's the key to getting good quality videos. And that's why I always use manual ISO and the shutter speed for my YouTube videos. You see, the thing is, if you're recording a video in the normal mode, or even if you're in the Pro Video and you've got either the ISO or the shutter speed set to auto, you'll notice that the brightness of the entire video is gonna change if I open something with a white background. And this sudden change in the brightness is gonna cause eye fatigue to you guys. But if I set everything to manual and with the right amount of exposure, you'll notice that the total brightness of the video will stay constant no matter what I'm doing on the phone. And this is very important from a viewer's perspective. So different settings depending on what you're trying to capture. And this is something that you will learn as you use the Pro Video mode. Trust me, it's easier than you think it is. You've also got the option of setting either one of these to auto and using the other one manually. Like, you can have the shutter speed set to auto and adjust the ISO as per your requirements, or have the ISO set to auto and adjust the shutter speed manually. This will let the phone adjust the brightness in the video automatically using the setting that you've left in the auto mode. And you can see this in action. So even though I'm increasing the shutter speed, the video is not becoming dark. This is because the phone is changing the ISO to keep the video to appropriate brightness. You can actually use this exact same setting with auto ISO and manual shutter to get rid of the stroboscopic effect that you see under certain LED lights. So what's happening is that the LEDs are turning on and off many times a second. Our eyes can't see it, but our phones can. To fix this, all you have to do is match the shutter speed on your phone to the flickering frequency of the LEDs. Now with cheap LEDs, it's gonna be same as your utility voltage frequency. In my country, it's 50 Hz. So changing the shutter speed to 1/50th is gonna eliminate the strobing effect. This is because the camera's shutter speed is now in sync with the speed at which the LEDs are turning on and off. So no more stroboscopic effect. However, I had to drop the frame rate down to 30 FPS because if you're recording at 60 FPS, you won't be able to drop the shutter speed down to 1/50. This is a limitation because it's a phone. Meanwhile, on a proper camera, you can actually set the shutter speed to 1/50 even if you're recording at 60 FPS. So having a proper camera does have its advantages. Now, I've also noticed that in certain circumstances, the auto mode tends to overexpose videos. You can see that the highlights of the flower is kind of blown out of proportion. Fortunately, we can fix all of this in the Pro video by setting the ISO to the lowest level and increasing the shutter speed. And you can see that results in a much better quality video. Now here's a fun fact. Some older generation Samsung smartphones like the S10 Plus have an extra toggle in the shutter speed which lets you control the camera's aperture. If I flip the phone around, you'll be able to see that there is a mechanical aperture blade in the lens of the S10 Plus. So selecting f1.5 opens up the aperture, allowing more light into the camera lens, and f2.4 closes the aperture, cutting down the amount of light. And this also lets you do better quality bokeh. Let me show you. So take a look at the LED tree back there. f1.5 is going to give you a shallow depth of field, so better background blur, and f2.4 is going to give you a deeper depth of field, and that is going to decrease the amount of background blur in your videos. Newer phones do this in the software using AI, but the S10 Plus has an actual mechanical aperture in the lens. Pretty cool, right? I really want to see Samsung bringing this feature back on their newer smartphones. So now let's move on to the next setting, that is the exposure value. So in simple words, exposure value lets you control the total amount of brightness in your video by either changing the ISO or the shutter speed. Right now, both the ISO and the shutter speed are set to auto. So the phone is gonna adjust the brightness in the video using both of these when you change the exposure value. And this is like the same thing as tapping on an object in the normal video mode and then using this slider to adjust the brightness. However, in the Pro video, you've got the option of setting either the ISO or the shutter speed to manual and have the phone adjust the brightness in your videos using the setting that you've set to auto. As you can see, the phone is only adjusting the ISO to change the brightness in the video. Meanwhile, we've still got the manual control over the shutter speed. And it's gonna be the other way around if you set the shutter speed to auto and take manual control over the ISO. So notice how the ISO is locked to 200 and the phone is adjusting the brightness in the video using only the shutter speed. And you want to use the combination of these three settings under specific lighting scenarios. Like in the previous clip, did you notice how I had the exposure value set to -0.3 while the ISO was set to auto and the shutter speed was manually set to 1/50 when I was recording indoors to get rid of the strobing effect of the LEDs. So this shows you every setting has its own use case scenario. Now sometimes you'll notice that the exposure value button is disabled. This will happen when you've got both the ISO and the shutter speed set to manual. So set either one of these to auto to use the exposure value slider. Okay, so next we've got the focus control, and inside you're gonna see three settings. When you set this to center, the phone is gonna focus on objects that are in the center of the screen. Then you've got the multi-mode, which sets the focus to a wide area, which is great for landscapes. And finally, you've got the complete manual focus. And manual focus is extremely useful in situations where the autofocus is not able to keep steady focus onto a subject. Notice how the autofocus is not able to keep steady focus onto the candles. So we're gonna take manual control over the focus and fine tune using this slider. Now as you adjust the focus, you'll notice that the phone applies a green highlight to the areas that are in focus. I'm not sure if you can see it, so here's a slightly better example. So the areas marked in green are in focus. And this makes using manual focus super easy. And if you haven't noticed, manual focus also gives you control over the speed of the focus system. You see, the thing is, when you tap on an object in the normal video mode, the phone quickly focuses onto the object. This is great, but kinda makes the video feel unprofessional. But in the Pro video, since you've got full control over the speed of the focus, you can adjust the speed of the focus yourself and give your videos a slightly cinematic feel, which does look quite a bit nicer. You see what I'm talking about? That smooth focus is gonna make your videos look awesome. Alright, so next we've got the setting for the white balance, and this is probably the most useful setting of all because this controls the color tone of your videos, which can be very useful in certain lighting conditions. Now for the most part, you want to leave this set to auto, but in case the phone isn't able to output natural looking colors in your videos, you want to tweak the white balance until what you see on the display matches what you are seeing in real life. So the whites should be whites and not yellow or blue. And you'll also notice that as you adjust, the phone is going to show you a little icon which shows you what kind of lighting situation this white balance setting is suitable for. Like 2800 Kelvin is suitable for taking videos in a scene lit up by incandescent bulbs. 4000 Kelvin is for fluorescent lighting, 5500 is for taking videos in sunlight, and 6500 Kelvin is suitable for taking videos in overcast or cloudy weather. So using white balance, you can manipulate the color tone of your videos. And for my YouTube videos, I keep the white balance on the phone set to 4900 Kelvin and the color tone of the video lights is set to 4000 Kelvin. I find this setting perfect for filming videos because it kinda gives that really nice, warm, welcoming ambience. Now, if the white balance on the phone is set to auto, then the videos look pale and cold. But setting the white balance to 4900 Kelvin makes the videos nice and warm. And here's a quick side-by-side comparison. This is auto white balance versus manual 4900 Kelvin. It's more of a personal choice, but you kind of get the idea of what happens to your videos when you change the white balance value. You also might have noticed this circle on the top left corner. Tapping on this circle will let you adjust the contrast, highlights, shadows, saturation, and the tint of your photo, which is very useful. Now, unfortunately, this will be disabled if you're recording your videos in UHD, that is 4K. So you'll have to drop the resolution down to Full HD if you want access to this menu. I think the reason this is disabled is because the phone doesn't have enough power to tweak these settings when you're recording your videos in 4K. But it really doesn't matter because you can change all of these settings in any video editing app. And finally, tapping here will open the histogram, and looking at this you can figure out if your image is over or underexposed. Now I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but in short, the dark tones are displayed on the left side of the histogram. The middle portion shows you the mid tones and the right side shows you the whites. Now, in very simple words, you want the graph to be covering the middle part because then you've got the correct exposure. If your shot is overexposed, you'll see the graph move to the right side, and if it's underexposed, you will see the graph move to the left. So using this, you can figure out the correct exposure for your videos. Now, for the most part, I would still recommend that you stick to the normal video mode because it does a fairly good job of capturing videos in wide variety of complex lighting and different kind of scenes. It's only when you want to do something that's a bit more advanced, well, That's where the manual mode comes in. And once you dial in the right settings, it's gonna give you photos and videos that are better than what the auto mode does. You see, I love taking aesthetic photos and videos, and when you've got this many incandescent bulbs and lights, then you'll have to use the Pro Video to get that right exposure and the focus. Let me show you. Now first we're gonna record a video with the normal video mode, and then we're gonna move on to the Pro Video, and I'll show you the difference between the two. So first we're recording in the normal video mode, and in this mode the phone is gonna set the focus, ISO, shutter speed and the white balance by itself. And I can already tell you that the video is slightly overexposed. We can kind of fix that by tapping on the object and bringing the exposure down. That kind of fixes the exposure to some extent, but I feel that the video lacks contrast, especially on the glass of the bulb. So let's fix all of these issues with the Pro Video mode. The first thing I'm gonna do is drop the ISO down to 50. This is gonna decrease the camera's sensitivity to light, and along with this I'm also gonna increase the shutter speed to 1/90. We are doing this to make the video slightly darker so that there's more contrast between the bright and the dark areas. I'm also gonna take over the control of the focus system and adjust it manually to the point where the camera focuses on the inside of the bulb. And you'll notice as you adjust the focus, the phone applies a green highlight to the areas that are in focus. So this is gonna make focusing really easy. So looks like everything is in focus, and now we can hit the record button. And you'll see right away the video is of much higher quality compared to what we were getting in the normal video mode. Take a note of how weird and cloudy the glass of the bulb looks. In reality, the glass is completely clear. The phone is doing some sort of post-processing which makes the glass of the bulb look cloudy. Thing is, even after adjusting the exposure in the auto mode, the video still doesn't look as good as it does in the manual mode. I guess this is because there is no post-processing or any AI enhancements in the Pro Video. That's why the video is of much higher quality and closer to what I am seeing through my eyes. Also, if you head on into the camera settings and then advanced video options, you're gonna see two settings which are specific to the Pro Video mode. The first one lets you record videos at a higher bitrate, and that's gonna make your videos look slightly better. But honestly, if you're recording to upload on social media or planning to upload on YouTube, you might want to keep this setting off because you're not going to notice any difference. These social media sites are going to downgrade the bitrate anyways. So as an experiment, this clip was captured with the high bitrate option enabled, and this was recorded without the high bitrate option. And I guarantee that both are gonna look identical on YouTube. Maybe you'll be able to tell a difference on a big 55-inch 4K TV, but after uploading to YouTube, there's not gonna be any difference between these two clips. So use this feature only if you wanna archive the videos. The next option lets you enable HDR10+ for your videos. And when you do this, the colors in your videos are gonna absolutely pop. I mean, look at that, absolutely beautiful. But there's a catch. You want to enable the HDR10+ option only if you have an HDR10+ display to view these videos on, because if you don't, the colors in your videos are gonna look washed out and the video is gonna look pale and boring. Now personally, I've always kept HDR10+ off to make the videos compatible with wide variety of social media and different kind of displays. Alright, so we've covered most of the major features of the Pro Video. Only a handful things remaining, so let's carry on. Okay, so in the Pro Video, you also get the option of choosing how the microphone captures audio while you're recording videos. Thing is, your Samsung phone has multiple microphones, and using these options, you can take advantage of all of them. So if you select the rear microphone option, the phone will focus on sounds coming towards the back of the phone. So it's going to use the mic that is on the back, and you can actually see it. It's underneath the camera lens. Then you've got the front microphone option, which will focus on capturing sounds coming towards the front of the phone. That is the side of the screen. And finally, you've got the omnidirectional option, which captures sound equally from all directions. And additionally, you also get the gain control. That would be the volume of the sound that is being recorded in the video. And there are more options here, like if you plug in a USB microphone like this one, you can choose the USB microphone option and record higher quality audio through this. And yes, it does actually make a difference. Let me demonstrate. Okay, so first, this is the audio that is being captured through the phone's internal microphone. And this is the audio that is coming in through the external microphone. As you can hear, there's a pretty substantial difference between the two. So, using a high quality external microphone, you can capture better quality audio through your phone. And if you've got a Bluetooth headset connected to your phone, you can use its microphone to capture audio. So go to the Pro Video and under the Audio tab, select Bluetooth. Now the phone will capture audio coming from the microphone that is on the Bluetooth headset. Now if you select the BT Mix option, then the phone will capture audio from two sources, its internal microphone and also the microphone that is on the Bluetooth headset. Very useful if you and your cameraman want to talk while recording a video. And finally, if you're into recording cinematic videos, then the Pro Video mode gives you an option to record videos at 24 FPS. And to complement the 24 FPS frame rate, you can also select the 21:9 aspect ratio to give your videos that cinematic feel. This ultra-wide aspect ratio along with the 24 FPS option are exclusive to the Pro Video mode. And this is kinda designed to make your videos feel a bit more cinematic. Alright, so with that we have come to the end of the video, and this is the part where I usually say I'm gonna see you next week, but I kinda have some renovation work going on at home, so I'm not sure when I'll be able to upload next. I'm gonna try and post some photos of the renovation work on my Instagram and maybe on YouTube community. But with all of this stuff going on, it's kinda difficult to record videos. And most likely next we're gonna start the renovation work in my room, and we'll be changing the wallpaper and replacing this door with a soundproof one so that there's less disturbance when I'm recording a video. And if you've made it this far, well, as a bonus, if you're wondering, the wallpaper is a photo that I've taken myself. I think it gives off a really nice holiday season vibe. You can always download the photos that I use as my wallpaper from my Flickr account. Anyways, let's end the video here. Thanks for watching and follow me on Instagram if you want to see the updates. I'll see you guys soon. And this is Tech Guy Charlie, signing off.